Hey, I'm Hamish, and you're watching The Modern Viking. Do you ever notice how there are some people that, against all odds, they just go, go, go. They push through all of their physical boundaries and they overcome all of their stresses. But then there are some people that just crumble immediately. Today we're going to talk a little bit about overcoming those pains and being able to fight through the struggles you have. But also the fact that pain doesn't just come in one form. There are different kinds of pain that we'll have to fight through. So to begin, let me give you a little anecdote. When I was getting my first tattoo, I was a wuss. I was trying not to, but I wore it all over my face, and the tattoo artist could tell. Now that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that if you are in pain and you show it, then you're a wuss or you're not a man or whatever. But he could see that I was really uncomfortable, and there are people that get the same kind of tattoo in the same place, and they're not. And this is kind of the fact that pain is a psychological construct. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's just take this analogy. You're a kid and you put your hand on a heater or a radiator or whatever you call it where you come from. You have your hand on that radiator and you're like, that hurt, because your nerves go, send this little thing up to your brain, and your brain's like, bro, that's pain. Goes back down and you're like, whoa, that's pain. If your parents in that moment go, bro, bad decision, bad idea, you're gonna think, yeah, wow, that hurt. That was a bad move. Probably shouldn't do that again. But if you have the kind of parents that are like, oh no, oh no, not calling anyone out, parent how you want to parent. But if you've got the kind of parents that are like, oh no, that's really painful. In that moment, when you're already feeling that pain, you're amping it up in your head. You're thinking, I'm gonna die. And that's kind of the point with pain. Why do we feel that? Why do we feel that pain? Because we're animals. The point is that once upon a time, we didn't have massage chairs and social media and everything that is as comfortable as it is these days. Once upon a time, we had to live in caves and go hunt for food and all of that. So, once upon a time, as I'm saying, the threat and the risk of dying was kind of a daily thing. And so it is part of our instinct as a species not to die. So, let's just say you get a cold, and then that cold becomes a really bad cold, and then a really, really bad cold that is kind of like diseasey. Eventually you could die. Or let's say you get punched in the face really hard, and you get, I don't know, a brain bleed. Yeah, that could lead to dying. But the thing is, not all discomfort will lead to dying, especially not in this day and age where we are so safe. So for example, you get a graze because you fall over on the concrete. As long as you don't let that get infected, you're probably gonna be fine. And probably within minutes. Now again, that comes back to how you perceive pain. Okay, so that's a little bit about how we can perceive physical pain and why. But let's also look at the fact that there is a lot of emotional pain in the world. And I don't want to make this too dark and sad, but let's face it, it is real. And if in this video we are talking about how to overcome pains and separate ourselves from pains so as to achieve goals, then I think it's important that we talk about some of that more emotional pain, even if just briefly. So, because it is our instinct to survive, we are naturally stressed out people. We are naturally paranoid. Oh, is there a jaguar around the corner? Is there an enemy tribe running at me with spears and bows and arrows? It is in our nature to overanalyze and to be critical, and perhaps some people are like that more so than others, but it is just as much in our nature as a species to be like that with our emotions as it is with how we perceive physical pain. Okay, so let me give you an anecdote of how I have learned to separate myself from pain, and then we can kind of take that concept and apply it to how you can use that concept to overcome your goals and beat your challenges. Okay, so I used to live overseas. I spent some time living in Sweden, and I was there over the winter. It was really cold. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it was -10 degrees Celsius, -15 degrees Celsius, around there. In Fahrenheit, let's just say it was really cold degrees. Most people were at home, wrapped up, getting warm, drinking a hot coffee and watching Netflix. What I did was walk down to the lake, take off my jacket and put it on the snow so I'd have a nice thing to sit on and not get a wet bum. But I would have just a t-shirt, no thermals, no anything, sometimes no shirt, but very, very exposed in the mid-winter Swedish cold. So let's think about this. I'm sitting there, shirtless, in negative 10 degrees. Naturally, my body's thinking, you're gonna get hypothermia, bro, you could die. But that's the thing. This was a controlled setting, during which I knew if I reach a point where it gets dangerous, I should probably go, but I'm gonna go well before then anyway. I'm not at risk of getting dead. So, I'm out there, freezing, shivering, hyperventilating. But I remembered what my tattoo artist had told me about that whole heater thing and how pain is this psychological construct, this concept that we've learned to be so, that we have learned that is so ingrained in us, when really it's just one part of us. So, what did I do? I took a deep breath and held it, and I just tried to concentrate on remembering that my body is in pain right now. The cold, I mean, it was painful, right? My body was in pain, but why does that have to mean my mentality is in pain? Why does that have to mean that I am in pain? So I'd hold my breath, 5 seconds, let it out, and breathe. Try to breathe calmly. And I wasn't breathing that calmly at first, but then I'd do it again. Maybe hold my breath for 10 seconds, breathe for a few breaths, then hold my breath for 20 seconds. Breathe for a few breaths. You get the idea. I would build up until I really couldn't anymore. But the point is that later in, 10 minutes, 15 minutes into doing that, I was holding my breath for a minute maybe, or 40 seconds. It didn't really matter. The point was that my body was in a lot of pain. It was like, bro, get out of here, you're freezing. But my mind was just like, I don't care. The vessel that my body is in, it is feeling a lot of pain. And I know that it's only now, it's not gonna last once I get back in the warm. And I feel great. I felt happy, I felt powerful, I felt empowered. And so I was breathing calmly. Although my body was just like, dude, this is really cold, I knew that I wasn't in danger. And so I just sat there, chilling out, man. And it was really empowering. Anyway, not everybody wants to go and confront the cold. I notice I have a really hard time with heat, for example. I don't want to confront the heat. But let's say you've got a different challenge that tests you physically. Maybe you're at the gym and you're picking up a really heavy weight. You're doing this PB set and you're lifting the last rep and your body's screaming at you, bro, put the weight down. Especially on a leg day. Let's say that's what you're experiencing. Well, as long as you're not doing terrible form and you've got like a present injury, you're not gonna get hurt. You really should not be getting hurt. You're probably fine. So the fact that you're in pain, it's just how your body's feeling. But if you don't do that one last rep that you really want to do, you're gonna leave feeling like, damn, I know I could have done that. I know I had more in the tank and I didn't put that 110% in. And you feel bad. But you've got this goal and you know that you will not let anything stop you from achieving that goal. And so you remind yourself, yeah, I'm in a lot of pain right now, but that's just psychological. My body's in pain, but I'm not. And so you get that last rep up, you give it everything. And then afterward, cool, rest, have some protein powder. And it's hard, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you're not gonna achieve that goal. You're not gonna overcome that goal. And I'm gonna make the assumption that you want to achieve that goal. Otherwise, would you have clicked on this video? Let's just quickly apply this to the mental thing, and then I think we're pretty much done here. So, I gotta admit, at least personally, it's a lot harder to apply this concept to mental barriers, emotional barriers. I feel like shit about this, but life is moving onward and you can't just sit back while life passes you by. Sometimes you've got to be like, yeah, this is really hard, but I need to just keep going. And yeah, you should have rest days mentally as well. Not just physically, you should take time for yourself, but sometimes you can just be like, you know what, I feel terrible right now, but I know it's just in my head, and I need to just not toughen up, but compartmentalize the pain. Anyway, let's summarize a little bit. What is pain? Pain is something that we feel because we either don't want to die because we're feeling this physical, excruciatingly difficult pain, or we don't want to be in a position where we could die or be in a lot of pain, and it's that anxiety, it's that instinct telling us not to go there. Well, that is just a part of our instincts, and a lot of the time they're just not warranted. They don't have a place in the modern world. Sometimes they do. So we can challenge that. We can challenge that by remembering that our body or our mind is only one part of us, and we can separate that from ourselves and be empowered that we are able to push through the pain. I hope that you've got some big goals that you're trying to overcome, and if this has inspired you in any way, tell me what your goals are in the comments. After all, if you talk about them, you're more likely to actually go and achieve them, so I'd love to hear them. I'm Hamish, and you have been watching The Modern Viking.